J.D. Vance is kind of a giant. Still would love to get you on the show, J.D. But he doesn't couch. It's not in his book, as the rumor suggested. What goes on between a man and upholstery is none of my business, but in this case, it just didn't happen. But what is in that book is a much more interesting passage where Vance recalls how at age 8 he thought he might be gay. This really resonated with me because when I was 8, puberty was still a few years off, so I hated girls at 8. They had cooties, and I only wanted to be with boys. Well, that does sound gay.
Trump's presidency plays out like a bad comedy act that won't end, with J.D. Vance awkwardly trying to hype him up while Bill Maher steps in, sharper than ever, to roast him. Maher doesn't need a script. Trump provides endless material, turning every mistake into the setup and every meltdown into the punchline.
Kim Jong-un has state stenographers who follow him everywhere and scribble his genius ideas into their notebooks and applaud. Well, Republicans, that's you now. Republican Congressman Addison McDowell wants to name Dulles Airport after Trump. It'll be like other airports, except the international terminal only has departures.
Bill Maher goes after J.D. Vance like he's the eager kid trying to win over the class bully, nodding along to nonsense just to stay in favor. Vance comes off less like a senator and more like an unpaid intern stuck serving the worst boss imaginable. But Maher doesn't linger on him. Vance is just the sidekick in this messy comedy. The real focus is Trump, still treating the presidency like a reality show reboot, only now with higher stakes and sinking ratings.
The most surreal part of the whole night was when I got home. I flew back right after the dinner, and I'm in bed watching 60 Minutes from the night before. And there's Trump in one of their stories. Him in a room that looked to me like one of the rooms and podium places we'd just been in. And he's ranting, "Disgusting, you're a terrible person." And I'm like, who's that guy? He's got 5 kids and he's out of his fucking mind. And again, it's 2024 and you're still saying that people who don't marry and raise kids are inferior weirdos? Thanks, Phyllis Schlafly. Let me check my beeper to see if 1993...
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon. Trump is so fixated on proving he's a genius that he doesn't realize he's the punchline. Maher shows him as the guy who thinks insults on Twitter pass for policy and that a loud crowd means good leadership. His rallies look less like politics and more like an all-you-can-eat ego buffet where applause is the only dish. Maher mocks how Trump confuses noise with progress, like a karaoke singer mistaking volume for talent.
There's also a bill in Congress to add Trump to Mount Rushmore because, like Washington, he's a patriot, like Teddy Roosevelt, he's a renegade, and like Abraham Lincoln, he's not really helping the theater scene in Washington, D.C. City centers, not something I really care a lot about, but I do care that an American president doesn't see anything wrong with him personally taking it over, or that his communications director, Stephen Chung, said it was justified because Trump, quote...
When Trump brags about his business skills, Maher undercuts him with reminders of bankruptcies and failures. The master deal maker has left investors, contractors, and even cities worse off, yet still convinces people he's the one to fix America. Maher compares him to a con artist selling the same snake oil over and over, with crowds still lining up for more. Trump's economic vision is as flimsy as his branded steaks, overpriced, flavorless, and quick to disappear.
EVs 2 years ago, 71% of Republicans said they would not consider buying an electric car. Trump said they were for, quote, radical left fascists, Marxists, and communists. Now he's selling them on the White House lawn.
Maher doesn't just stop at Trump's money troubles, he takes aim at his foreign policy blunders too. He mocks the way Trump treats the world stage like an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, acting as if handshakes and photo ops count as diplomacy. Maher points out how Trump reduces complex global issues to simple snapshots, chasing autographs instead of building real alliances. The absurdity is clear. Trump thinks looking tough for the cameras makes the world fall in line, while actual diplomats work frantically behind the scenes to clean up the mess.
Republicans dance like Trump now. They name weapons systems after him. They've even dressed like him with the trademark suit and tie. Available exclusively at Banana Republic. Yeah, all these super macho guys eating the ass of another man.
J.D. Vance comes off like Trump's eager sidekick, standing behind him like a bobblehead with no real courage of his own. Maher mocks how Vance clings to Trump's chaos, thinking it makes him madder, when in truth he looks like the guy at an office party laughing too hard at the boss's bad jokes while everyone else has already left. The sharpest jokes, though, are aimed at Trump's constant hunger for praise. Every move is measured by how loud the cheers will be, with policies fading away while self-congratulation takes center stage. When Maher tackles Trump's view on the environment, the sarcasm cuts deep. Trump treats climate science like a personal attack, tearing down protections with the glee of a pyromaniac lighting fireworks.
So, the biggest threat to America now is not a nuclear-armed Iran or $35 trillion in debt or another leaky lab in China. It's cat ladies. Vance says the country is being run by them. In 2020, he said not having kids makes people more sociopathic and less mentally stable, and the people who are most deranged and most psychotic are people who don't have kids. Have you met your running mate?
Maher rips into Trump's obsession with deregulation, noting even coal executives cringe at his fixation. Trump treats pollution like prosperity, as if smog were the scent of success. Maher lands the punchline. Trump's version of saving the planet is making sure there's enough gold trim for his golf carts. Healthcare becomes another gag. Trump boasts about the best plans, yet none ever appear. Maher compares it to a magician's trick, where every time you ask for details, the plan vanishes. Americans wait for solutions that never come, while Trump sells smoke and mirrors. On immigration, the comedy writes itself. Instead of real leadership, Trump plays pretend castle builder, convinced walls can block the complexities of a modern world.
About our new tariff policy, Commissary Ludnick said, "These policies are the most important thing America has ever had." Yeah, take that Emancipation Proclamation in Louisiana. And these bills they've introduced to make Trump's birthday a holiday and put him on currency and Mount Rushmore. This is not what we do.
Maher tears into Trump's endless fights with the media, pointing out how he spends more energy battling headlines than solving the problems behind them. He compares it to a quarterback blaming the scoreboard every time he drops the ball. The press isn't inventing the chaos. Trump creates it himself and then cries bias when it's reported. Maher highlights the hypocrisy of a man who causes disasters and then plays the victim. Trump loves to brand himself as the outsider fighting the establishment, yet he sits in the center of power, surrounded by billionaires and lobbyists, treating government like a networking lounge. With investigations piling up, Trump seems more worried about subpoenas than policies. Maher paints the Oval Office as a law firm in disguise, filled with attorneys instead of advisors, an image both funny and damning, making the administration look more like a defendant's waiting room than a functioning government.
Okay, this is a crazy, shallow way to make decisions that we all do too much. A new book by David Zweig called "In of Caution" about the repercussions from keeping the schools closed so long during the pandemic has garnered a lot of attention. And here's the author's takeaway line. The American Academy of Pediatrics were very strongly in favor of getting kids into schools, but as soon as Trump came out in favor of reopening, they completely reversed their...
Maher carves into Trump's leadership style by spotlighting his refusal to take responsibility. Nothing is ever his fault. It's always enemies, critics, or imaginary conspiracies. Maher compares him to a man who trips over his own feet and then sues the floor. The joke builds on his fragile ego, with every denial becoming its own punchline. When it comes to crises, Trump turns each one into a vanity project, more about image than solutions. Maher also mocks his endless recycling of slogans, chanting lines like a preacher selling salvation through repetition. But words aren't policy, and shouting them doesn't make them true. What's left, Maher says, are empty promises, no follow-through, and supporters who mistake the echo for progress.
And finally, new rule. Someone has to tell me how Americans can keep becoming more alike, but also hate each other more than ever. I was made to think of this recently when it came to my attention that vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance fucks his couch. Oh, I'm sure you heard it too. It was everywhere. One guy wrote it on Twitter, and immediately half the country was all in. Our hate for each other is so intense. We all just immediately believe anything bad about the other side. I mean, don't get me started on they're eating the dogs, they're eating the dogs, they're coming for the pets, they're eating the dogs.
Maher takes another swing at J.D. Vance, mocking him as the eager apprentice who never notices his master is failing. He paints Vance as the guy polishing brass on the Titanic, convinced it's all part of some grand plan. His devotion doesn't read as loyalty, but as desperation, a career built on clinging to louder figures. Maher then turns to Trump's obsession with rewriting his own story. Instead of creating achievements, Trump replays old battles, bragging about fake wins and recycling grievances. Maher likens it to a washed-up athlete stuck on highlight reels while the current season collapses. The presidency becomes a nostalgia tour of complaints, with Trump as the aging rock star pretending the crowd still cares. His toughness is just as hollow. He brands himself as strong, but crumbles at the slightest criticism. Maher imagines the White House as a revolving door, staffers barely unpacking before being replaced, leaving the place looking less like a government and more like an episode of Survivor, with Trump gleefully casting people off the island.
And finally, new rule. The Republican ticket of Trump and Vance can say what it wants about Mexicans, Muslims, journalists, sharks, windmills, low-flow toilets, the FBI, Brittany Griner, and me. But for the love of God, leave childless cat ladies out of it. While we were off last month, America got to know Donald Trump's new piss boy, Andrew Dice Vance, the VP candidate who has now reopened the question at the very foundation of the Republican Party. Bitch, why?
On education, Maher slams Trump for neglecting the issue, mocking how he treats schools as backdrops for photo ops instead of places needing real reform. The irony stings a man who can't string clear thoughts together, posing as a champion of learning. Maher jokes that Trump's only education policy is keeping everyone as uninformed as he is. Turning to technology, he ridicules how Trump treats social media like a throne room, governing through impulsive posts and mistaking rants for policy. Instead of easing tensions, he feeds division, spinning unrest into self-promotion. Every crisis becomes another stage for Trump to posture, ignoring the real cost to people. Maher also skewers Trump's staged moments of statesmanship, recalling photo ops where he tries to look dignified. But the act never lasts. Within minutes, it collapses into rambling speeches, petty feuds, and outlandish claims.
Remember that debate during the pandemic? On the left, they were saying, Trump and Joe Rogan took it. It must be for animals. Okay, it won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for what it did for humans. But whatever, the point is, it's a drug. It's not a politician. Drugs don't have political parties. Although I do suspect Xanax is a Democrat.
Maher frames Trump's presidency as the worst kind of theater, bad acting without a script, kept alive only by morbid curiosity. In his closing shots, he skewers Trump's obsession with immortality, mocking his fantasies of monuments and glowing books written in his honor. The reality, Maher says, is far less grand. Trump's name won't stand with visionaries, but will sit in the margins as a cautionary tale of failure. Future classrooms won't study him as a statesman. They'll pick apart his legacy as a case study in chaos. The reminder is stark: incompetence can pose as authority until reality exposes it. Maher leaves Trump defined not by progress or vision, but by turning leadership into theater, where arrogance replaces substance and spectacle stands in for true achievement.